pooping out these plosives, but we're popping the plosives into the pop filter. Ooh, we're clipping. That's not wonderful. So I've got an EP coming out. I'm waiting on art from the artist that I'm having do the art. So that's that. But I got an EP coming out. Just stay tuned. It'll be out on January 14th on YouTube, and then whenever I get the art, it'll be out on all the major streaming platforms. I'll just have to figure out distribution. I think I'm going to get DistroKid probably. Here's a little preview.
Oh, fuck that shit.
Okay, so welcome back to the channel. I decided to make a video on FL Studio's frequency shifter, which I think gets overlooked. FL Studio has a stock frequency shifter now. It's not new in 21, it came out in 20.8, but it sort of got overlooked because the bigger update was coming out. And there's a lot of cool features in it that I don't think people know about, so I wanted to go over some of the stuff you can do with it. The biggest thing is it actually has a ring mod in it, and so I'm just going to make a basic sound here. I'm just going to go Sytrus, and we're going to make a basic, not that, presets, and we're going to go default. I'm going to make what is basically just a triangle right now. I'm going to put this in 12. And I'm going to bring it down to 3. And so a ring modulator is a type of amplitude modulator that has more processing, so it removes the original signal and only keeps the resulting signal that you get from amp modulation. If you want to know more about amp modulation, either look it up or watch my previous video where I talk about it a little bit. I'm not the most versed in like the technical aspects, but basically it's using a second oscillator to shut the volume on and off really fast. And AM basically, because it uses a different algorithm, it leaves the original signal and then gives you an interesting feeling. Ring modulator, it cuts out the original signal and only keeps the new frequency that you create by shutting on and off the volume really fast, or turning the amplitude up and down really, really fast. The reason it's called a ring modulator is kind of just a misnomer. It's an amplitude modulator that used a ring inside of like hardware synths. And so using the same algorithm is just called ring mod now, even though it's just an amp modulator. So I'm going to rename this one to carrier because this triangle is going to be the carrier. And I'm going to make another. But for now, so with FM, I'm going to make a second triangle wave here in Sytrus. Sytrus is an FM synth, okay? And it has a series of 6 oscillators that you can FM with each other in like any particular order. FM is similar. It uses this oscillator, and what I'm doing right now is I'm using operator 2 to modulate the frequency of operator 1. And doing that with a triangle wave is how most dubstep growl basses are born. So if I link the volume of operator 2 to mod X, and I bring it over here, and then I create automation for mod X here, I can make I have to enable it. that's how you make your basic growl bass. And then a lot of the time, what I like to do is I like to just consolidate. And then I like to go make unique as sample. Recent files there. It'll just show up in your recent files, I guess. So what I like to do is I like to drag this in, and then I set it to drag it into the oscillator. Constant frame size, which will average out and make it so it's kind of on the same pitch. And then you have your own like wavetables that you can make by just resampling wave files. And I like doing it with Sytrus patches because it makes it easier. Remove, select to end. How many frames do I have? I want to have a small number of frames and then morph between them. Remove, selected to end. And I'm going to process, normalize each, morph, and either spectral or crossfade works. I'm going to go with crossfade though. And then you can create sort of, that's not the, bring it down 2 octaves. And then I oftentimes will delete a huge chunk of it until I have a smoothly morphing wavetable. That's how I make my wavetables for dubstep. I'm gonna remove a big section actually because I want it to be smoother, and then you can that's how I make wavetables. Sytrus also has the option of doing ring mod with within the plugin. See, it has a very different sound. But if you didn't know this, the frequency shifter has built-in ring mod. So if I have this going here, I can create any sound I want to and do ring mod with this triangle wave here. If you can hear that, you can hear the octave coming out, but it's also getting rid of the lower pitch. With ring mod, it's better to, in my opinion, either do it with a higher pitch than just doing it up an octave, because it's more of a clear sound, or to do it with a more interesting waveform than just a triangle, because it doesn't give you as distinct of a sound as FM does. So I'm just going to turn this off and just leave the triangle going. And I'm going to create just a simple 3x oscillator on, I guess a sine wave works, and I'll put it on to track 13. And I'm going to use that as a modulator for track 12. And I'm just going to create a sidechain link right here and disconnect it from the master. The reason that's so you don't hear it, but you can still get the information to the carrier. So I'm going to pick, you can pick a different note. I'm just going to go up a fifth because that'll give me, it'll be more distinct. So if I bring in frequency shifter, The default setting is just a regular old frequency shifter. Well, what's interesting about a frequency shifter is, yeah, a frequency shifter does change the pitch of a sound, but it moves it up in hertz as the measurement. It changes the position by this many hertz. So every frequency in the sound goes up by this many hertz, when perceived pitch is actually a logarithmic thing. So basically the number of hertz gets, the higher you get, the audible space between individual hertz values gets smaller, because that's what the measurement is. It measures how many cycles of a waveform happen per second. So if you the higher it up, the more of the number. The higher up, the more of the number you're going to need to see to actually be able to hear a difference. So because of that, you get the same harmonic relationship between the harmonics in the frequency, so it sounds like it's still on the same note. You can tune it that way. You can still be on the same pitch. You just get a different timbre, basically. And a lot of the time, your brain will just imply undertones, even if they're not there, which is kind of cool. But this is a really cool tool for sound design, where you can shift the pitch around without making it sound atonal and out of tune. But in the frequency shifter, you have a ring modulator. Which, by default, is like the ring modulator in the kilohertz plugins, which is just a sine wave. It's just modulate. The modulator is just a sine wave in the kilohertz one, but you can activate the sidechain input. The kilohertz one also has a sidechain input, but and you can get a more distinct sound the less consonant it is. So a fifth, actually, because I'm stupid and didn't think this through, a fifth will actually not make it all that distinct of a sound. It just makes it have like an interesting timbre to it, because a fifth very rarely phase cancels with the original sound. An octave, also similar thing. You get a similar sound like that. But if you do, let's say, a tritone, you get some interesting warbling. So let's consolidate this one and see let's look at what kind of waveform we end up with here. I'm just gonna zoom in really close. Look at that. Isn't that something? Now I'm going to resample a small portion of it. And I'm going to make unique a sample. And I'm going to load up another serum, because I want to explain how you can use this to make interesting sounds. So that's the sound that we're going to turn into a wavetable. Same thing, constant frame size. And now, see, because we're modulating with a sine wave, it's like fluid and smooth. I mean, look at it, right? But remove this one, and say we'll remove that one, and we'll do process, normalize each, and morph. We'll do spectral this time just to... See that? With spectral, you get some artifacting between the... between the individual frames. And if I do... See, it's pretty easy to make cool sounds just by making wavetables out of weird processes. I personally would stick to using basic sounds through this process. Let me just open up a new project here just to explain something. No, I want to keep those files, yeah. If I do the same thing, carrier and modulator, and I put sidechain this track only, and I do frequency shifter. What you can do is frequency shifter and ring mod, sidechain 1. I can bring in any sound and modulate it by any sound. So I'm going to bring in, say, a pad that I made. Let's see. As you can see, we're not getting anything out because I don't have anything going through. Nothing is modulating it, so the amp is just off. But say I bring in, I don't know, like a drum loop. And I set this to 2. And maybe OTT. You can get some interesting effects that way. Change the loop around. Change the loop around to this one. You will use this the same way you would use Vocodex, but you can get weirder sounds because it is doing a completely different process. And you can also do this to make this sort of color basey thing. Say I bring in some dubstep sound. I would be careful with this, obviously. You can get some interesting stuff from here. Let's run some EQ. I mean, I obviously would not use this sound to do that kind of thing. But you can get some neat stuff by just fucking around with this. I, again, do not like... I would not use this in a song, but I would use it to make wavetables and do sound design, because I do not have the patience to use ring mod for anything other than introducing a really high screechy pitch by basically modulating with a sine wave or a triangle. I wouldn't go farther than just that with this plugin, but I think it's neat that this feature exists. And you can do it within a lot of plugins, but I think what would be cool, a lot cooler actually, is if there was an FM sidechain plugin, not an RM, not AM, but an FM sidechain plugin. That would be pretty sick. Maybe Image Line should think about doing something like that, because there is not one that I am aware of, and that would be rad. And I have tried to find one that is purchasable, because that is the kind of plugin that I would use all the time. But for now, I think Serum and Sytrus and their FM qualities are going to have to be good enough for me. If anyone knows about a plugin that does FM through a sidechain, leave it in the comments, because that would be cool. I hope this video was interesting. I know there isn't that many cool sounds I got out of this one, except for, the growl bass that I made. But this is a cool feature. I would only use it to do simple sounds with like a sine wave or a triangle wave or a square wave as the modulator, because it would just go a little bit out of hand. But you can also, what would be convenient about that is, say I make a pattern here. I'm going to make a new project here. Do from template, empty, bing, 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 bing. Make a new project. You can have carrier be just a basic sub bass or something. So I'm just going to go 3x oscillator. And then you can program in MIDI for the modulator. So I'm going to go, same process, frequency shifter, and then bing, sidechain to this track only, do ring mod, and you can do something like this. and you can create a sort of middle pitch if you can hear it. You can create sounds like that pretty easily. That's an interesting way of maybe getting a Cookers type bass. But yeah, if anything here was useful to you, tell me. Thanks for watching. I think that's it from me. I don't know too much about RM, to be honest, but I think it's cool. This is like sound design stuff that I would never resort to unless I was really trying to make something wild and funky. But I hope that this video was cool. Remember to check out my EP, which comes out on January 14th, which is the Saturday. Still got one track to do, so the rest of them will be up on YouTube on January 14th, but maybe one of them will come out like a week later or something. But yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.